So this playground is from the level that we just saw in the on the portfolio website. If you haven't seen it, there is another video that has the gameplay of this entire level. In this video, I will be explaining on the design choices I made for this level, what are the techniques that I used to make particular systems, how the enemies work, how the triggers and the player character interacts. So basically, I will be explaining the entire blueprint of this level. In order to see the gameplay, there should be a video uh, linked at the end of this video, or you can find it at the top of this presentation in the website. So, hello everyone. This is the level of a airstrip. This is running on Unreal Engine 4 due to optimization purposes. I find that Unreal Engine 4 is much more optimized than Unreal Engine 5 on my system currently. So that's why I've decided to run this one in Unreal Engine 4. So as you see right now from the bird's eye view, that it's a pretty linear level at the very beginning, and the path is also like sort of highlighted to go through the forest. So we basically start our level over here with our car, and we move down this road, and this guy over here is our AI NP companion AI. As you see right now, he's just standing over here, but like as we move down, he follows us till this region. So when I disable the game view, you can see the triggers that I have sort of like placed over here. So one of the issues that I ran into while working on this layout, like a complex terrain, was making the NPC AI follow this route, because this is an organic landscape, which usually has some difficulty while translating to nav mesh. So when I enable my nav mesh preview, you can see lots of clustering happening. So there's like gaps, and which are just not possible for the AI to easily walk through. So for those gaps, in order the AI to easily walk through those gaps, I used navlink proxies, which help me connect each different clusters along the way. So for example, over here, oops. So over here, as you can see, the AI enemy is able to jump down pretty easily from this cliff over here. Initially, when I was working on this level layout, there was also some cluster forming over here, but then I was able to pretty easily solve this by modeling a bridge a bit wider. Also, this entire level has been modeled in Maya, which granted me a really fast iterating speed. Because when I tried to model and block this level out in Unreal, it took me a really long time. But instead, when I brought this in Maya and started modeling in Maya, I was able to quickly reiterate and model everything, the environments and the trees, all pretty quickly. So it also gave me a really good flexibility to model more assets instead of just relying on basic cubes and cylinders. It gave me a better way to visualize the levels. So over here, I was able to create inorganic shapes, such as houses and stuff. So yeah, so that was my main so that was one of like my main goal to like, okay, let to be quick about this level, to like quickly model this level, and so that would give me enough time to code and keep on play testing it. So as we move down, there are these cubes, there are these box volumes, which are basically the dialogue systems, dialogue triggers and systems in this game. Since we don't currently have any voice acting for this game, I but I still wanted some sort of narrative going through this level, so that it's easier for me to visualize. Okay, how long does this like dialogue sequence take before we reach to the next beat in the story. So I created this sort of like a rough trigger system that helped me write dialogues, and and just like be on screen for, like, let's say over here it's 1.8 second, and like the next dialogue runs on the screen for 2.2 seconds. So it gave me a really fair idea of like, okay, how long does it take me to how long does it take to for the entire game to finish like dialogue scene as we're walking down the trail. So over here there is another one uh, which is activated by our NPC character, who in the story is named Owen, because I also wanted Owen to do the talking, just not William. So with this, Owen was able to interact with the world as well. So in this scene, when he walks over this puddle, Owen sort of comments about it. So that is only possible when the NPC and the companion AI walks over this box trigger, and not our player character. So this is the same thing. So this is the same dialogue trigger that triggers when player character walks up, and by this time around we are able to see the oops. And by this time around we're able to see the fence line for the for the uh, for the border of the airstrip, on the border of the airstrip. So yeah, so we're able to pretty easily trigger those lines for that. So as we move down over here, there's a series of different triggers over here, which are basically the cutscenes and scripted sequences that I animated. So this is the long cutscene that plays out, that shows the argument between Owen and William about how Owen should not be with Owen should not continue with this mission anymore, and he should go back. So when the player character walks over this and triggers this box collider, it sort of triggers the sequence of the animation. So yeah, so that's basically a same tool that I created, where I'm just reusing the same asset over and over again. So like this entire, like I just have to input the script, the level sequence, and if I want some sort of delay, I can like input. Okay, maybe I want the script sequence or the cutscene to play out after, like, let's say 3 seconds. So I can easily just put in like a delay amount, and it would just delay that sequence for that amount of time. So yeah, so the first part of this level was pretty simple and straightforward. Like there's no crazy things happening just yet, and it was fairly the easiest part of the level. So yeah, so then the challenging part starts from here basically. So like, okay, so now as we move down the level, so for this one, this particular hill, it was sort of like a creative choice that I made as I was modeling and sketching out this level, because we just had this whole track and I did not want it to replicate that. So, and the distancing and the camera distance, like it made sense on the sketch, but when I started modeling the level in Maya, I had these test cameras that I laid around just to just to see the composition of the level. And from this end, the level like seemed way too long, and the goal was way too far. So for that, I wanted to sort of like reduce the distance. So that's why I created this like sort of like a walk around cliff where William basically walks around and jumps down from. Also, an interesting thing that I wanted to do in this level is to constantly remind the player of their objective. So that's why I placed these really long spotlights around our plane. So these are just 2D images, 2D cards that has these really elongated texture with some depth fade up applied to it to show that sort of like that volumetric fog kind of effect. So what this is basically doing, it's acting as a beacon for the player. So like if even if we're way back over here, you can sort of see where the plane is supposed to be. So it's sort of like a UI. It's not a UI, but like it's sort of like a indication that okay, so this is where we want to go. So that's what it's doing. So as we go down over here, we see that this is the balcony that we want to go to, and with the help of this trigger, William also talks about it that okay, I need something to climb up over there, and that something is laying over here. So this is also sort of like a small puzzle kind of a thing, you can say that, like you need to make your way to that particular destination. So yeah, with the help of this ladder, William is like able to climb up to this balcony. And as we go inside, currently it's not modern, and like there is no furniture or anything right now, because it did not feel like it did not have that significance right now. So okay, so here is where we meet our first enemy over here, which is not really an enemy but sort of a trigger. So this also tutorializes stealth takedown in the game. So when you walk up in this particular box collider, the game sort of like enables you to take down this enemy using stealth, which is also an interesting thing that I use over here. I used something called event dispatcher. So what event dispatcher basically does is like it's sort of like a PA system that sort of announces whenever we do a particular thing. So I have these event dispatcher to announce whenever there is a stealth takedown on our character, and whichever blueprint is connected to that will take that announcement and run the function that is connected to it. So when we took down this enemy over here, it automatically triggered the function that was running inside this blueprint, and it triggered a cutscene which basically spawned spawned these enemies in the level. So these enemies are stored in the memory, but they are not spawned in yet. So, so the reason behind doing this was that because right now how these enemies are structured is they need, as soon as they spawn, they need to do something, one thing or another, and it was just taking a lot of space on memory, and it was just dropping the frame rates. So what I did was just kept them loaded in memory, but I did not spawn them just yet. As like as soon as the cutscene was played, they basically get spawned in the cutscene and they stay there as long as you know before we defeat them. So yeah, so like this also like saves the memory, and it frees up a lot of space for other things that we're doing. So over here, like once you fight all these enemies and take like do all the takedown, we have these two different we have these two different objects in the space that are like explosive barrels. So I wanted the player to take use environment as well to kill their foes. So like when we go over here and we start shooting the gas tanker, it sort of explodes, and as you see, it took out the bridge that was above it, and same goes for over here as well. Like there are these like two big gas tankers that when we shoot it sort of breaks the bridge, and whichever enemy is standing there, it automatically kills it. So yeah, so that was like sort of like a way to do environment takedowns and like include more set pieces to create the combat and to make the combat feel more dynamic as well. There's also these breakable covers that are hanging from the railing. So like when you shoot them down, you can like sometimes just shoot them down and like, kill whichever enemy is like standing behind it. So yeah. So after finishing this fight, you can sort of see that there is the gates open for now, but it's a way to sort of lure the player character. It's just to like mess with the player character that no, the level is not done yet. You have to find another way to get to the airplane. So it's just to like increase the play amount, because that would be a bit too easy, and the level would be ending pretty quickly. So also fun thing over here. So I wanted to include at least one collectible item in the game and in this level, and I found this pretty cool poster which is on the internet, and I just decided to like put it in as a placeholder. So when you like press F, and you can like you can hold it and like flip it around just to like see what it is, and yeah, you can just collect it and put it in your pocket. So you might be seeing these three different debug cylinders over here, and these are basically a region combat manager. I have made a video explaining what these do. To explain this in brief, these are sort of like a system that is assigned to enemy AIs, just so that they protect a particular zone and a region in the level. Because in earlier playtests, what was usually happening is the enemy AI would just scatter around, and they would be running around, and the attack and the combat did not feel coordinated and communicated. So now with these regions, the enemy region managers, the enemy stays within one region, and they focus on protecting that region, so that it's harder for the player character just to like get take the advantage of like their scattered formation and just like run through this. Instead, now it's like more precise on what particular spot they have to protect and from the player character. So this is the first combat region where after killing some enemies we go inside. By the way, these bridges are modeled and destroyed. So the destruction is baked in as skeletal animation. And the reason behind doing this sort of animation and not using level sequencer was that level sequencer are pretty heavy to run, and if you stack different level sequencers on top of each other, it uses up a lot of CPU memory, and which was also taking a huge load on frame rates as well. So that is why in order to prevent that from happening, and just for this one particular animation like taking a lot of space for that, I it would it was rather more easier to just implement this skeleton animation. So these bridges over here, they both have skeleton animations running in instead of having a level sequencer timeline to control it. So after getting denied by this gate over here and denied access to the plane, we have to find a way around, and we come back over here to this door, which is a button mashing event. So when the player character interacts with it and presses F, we see this sort of like a UI popping up where we have to mash the spacebar button. Oops. Yeah, where we have to mash the spacebar button. Alright, so this is where the hidden loading screen takes place. So I wanted this level to be divided into chunks so that we are able to easily load and unload unnecessary assets. So all the assets that were loaded in, all the fancy lighting and the enemy AI that we just fought, are gone now. Now we are loaded in with a fresh new sets of enemy AI and assets. So now as we move through this level, we see a bunch of new, as I said, there's a bunch of new enemy AIs loaded in, and now these enemy AIs are also the same actors that we just fought, but these guys have a completely different set of behavior running. So these enemies are more into hiding and waiting for the player character to approach them instead of them approaching us. So these enemy AI are hiding tactically, which which I named their state as. So when I press So now, so what happens in this one is when we so these enemy AIs are controlled by a tactical box collider, which look like these. Woohoo. Okay, so whenever the player character steps into these colliders, it sends a signal to enemy AI that are connected to it, and they say basically like, hey, it's time to it's time to attack because the player character is approaching you. So yeah, so I've designed these like boxes and placed them around where where whenever player character steps in there, it sort of starts sending a signal to their corresponding and attached enemy AIs that okay, it's time, and that it's time for you to fight, because I wanted this section to have that wanted this section to have that trapped kind of feeling that now that we're in their territory and we're fighting, now now we're in the danger zone. So yeah, basically that's what these box are doing. And funnily enough, like whenever you connect an enemy AI with this box, so like over here when I filled up this box, filled up this variable, at the beginning of the game, the enemy AI basically checks that okay, is this variable empty? So if it is empty, it's going to run its regular routine of just idle patrolling, investigating and attacking based on it. But if we have if we have an input in this variable, it's going to change its behavior. It's going to start staying more quiet. It's going to hide in a location, and whenever this box is interacted or collided with, they'll start an attack, and only those guys will attack which are connected to the box that is triggered. So so if this if this enemy is attached to this box, and only this box is triggered, this enemy won't be attacking. It would still continue to hide. So I wanted to create this sort of like that horror setting, that there's danger lurking around the corners, and instead of them just like ambushing you all at one time, I wanted the enemies to ambush and pop up and ambush one at a time. So after defeating halfway through, we turn on the lights with the help of this power box, which is a sort of like a mini game where you open this box and you press the button whichever button that shows up. It's sort of like a interactable, more of an interactable than being a mini game. And when you do that, it sends out a signal. Again, it sends out an announcement to all the lights in the area that okay, that the player character has activated it, and now you guys can turn it on. So all the series of light that's activated gets controlled by this one particular blueprint. So that is something that I learned in this project, essentially, of how to use any event dispatcher. So now, as we walk out of this warehouse storage, and we're in the main hangar, one of the main hangars, and again we are ambushed by these bunch of enemies over here. And also again, I wanted to be creative with it. Like I wanted the player to be, to have more than one ways to kill them. Like we just like shot a bunch of enemies back there. Now instead of repeating that process again, I wanted to give player a new way to kill them. So that's why I set up these different traps that that we are able to activate from the control panel over here. And again, using the same event dispatcher, I am able to like call off the blueprint and functions from these different blueprints. Again, also these are also animated in Maya. So when I run the script that's activating it, it would only run the skeleton animation instead of like having a resource heavy level sequencer running in the background. And with the help of blueprint, I am able to also control the event and sequences again, instead of having level sequencer like control each one of these blueprint actors. So now, as you unlock the hangar, which is also another skeletal animation that was also animated in Maya. So it spawns our friend's car over here, and the player would just run through this entire sequence. And again, this is just a environment piece over here. We have a separate plane stored underneath the level that is the one that we're actually following in the convoy. This one is just a set decoration. So once you go inside the warehouse, this one sort of gets deleted, and the one underneath the level, it sort of gets spawned on top at its location, so that whenever the hangar door starts opening, this plane over here, it starts animating and starts the takeoff procedure. So now, getting back to the gameplay. So over here we see there's another scripted sequence trigger that brings in the car that's again ambushing the player character. So and these guys are pretty hard to kill for coding for the sequence purposes, because usually these guys have only got like 200 to 300 health points, but the player, if player is able to easily kill them, this moment of O1 driving and saving the player character won't have that much meaning to it. So for now, I have sort of increased their health to 9,000 HP. So each enemy AI right now over here is having 9,000 HP, so which is practically impossible for the player to kill with the limited bullets they have. So now as Owen gets here and kills these guys with the help of the events and sequence director, we are oops yeah, we are able to get on his car and get ready for the next part of the chase sequence, the convoy. So this convoy entirely takes place on level sequencer, but as you see over here that this convoy sequence only controls the runway, the plane on the runway, the dialogue system, Owen's car, and for some period of time the player character to get him to hop on the car. So where does the enemies that we see get spawned in? And that is where again our best friend level streaming comes into play. So for the sake of time limitation, I tried spawning in the enemy AI with basic spawners, just like the one that I have over here. That once you walk over a trigger, it spawns enemy AI. But for some reason I was facing an issue of enemy AI is not being able to follow us through the chase, and they would just spawn in with and just stay there in their location. So instead, I decided to take a hard way. I basically created 4 different sub levels with the enemy AI in it. So now as we go over each triggers, we sort of start loading in the next wave, which for the gameplay purposes it doesn't take that much take up that much resources like based on like loading and unloading the waves of different enemies. But it is not the best way to do it, I can assure you that. But for the time being and for the prototyping and playtesting, it was working great, so I decided to just roll with it. So now the player character is just attached to Owen's car as we go through the entire runway trying to catch the plane. And we fight off these 2 enemies over here, which are on 4th wave. And a little cutscene plays out as soon as we reached to this trigger over here, which basically enables which basically does is it switches a level. So the cutscene is since I didn't have enough time to animate an entire rough cutscene, I decided to go with the more storyboard animated route where we just type out the sequence that's happening in the level, that's happening in a cutscene. So with that happening on screen in the front, we are unloading this level and we're loading into the next level, which is the plane flying. So in the sequence it says that Owen and Logan managed to get on the train Mission Impossible style, and this is our car now, which is completely trashed again. And again, this entire level has been modeled in Maya for the purposes of quick iterations and quick modeling, and the easy way to do it, to be honest, for me. So in the level it says it's shown that Owen takes the high road literally. He climbs up over here, and William is supposed to take this path over here, which is covering the lower deck. So this is what our plane looks like in the layout. As you see, it's not as small from the inside. So again, in this level, I am not shying away from the dialogue triggers as well. I still want that story to go on. So as you see over here, there's dialogue triggers scattered and across the level. So when we go inside, there's like a dialogue sequence that starts playing where we're hearing Kane, our target, off screen, and his mercenary talking about how they've seen us boarding the airplane, and they're asking all the guards to stay alert. So as we get out of here, they get out of the physical doggy door, we have this another dialogue sequence take place where Owen basically says that, yeah, I've reached the cockpit, and just on your signal let me know, and we can like take control of this airplane. So now this is just to so now, as we saw, there a little scripted sequence happens. So this is just a way to stop player from going back outside all the way back. And right now you see the enemies roaming around, they're idling. So since we don't have a tactical box collider, they are able to idle around and just wander around the level. So now we can just quickly kill them. So as you see, not a big challenge. Over here I wanted to add like a small joke. Okay, take two. So as you see over here, I wanted to add this as a small joke where where Owen has taken control of the flight and he's just messing around on the PA. So now when we walk inside, this like sort of like a small cutscene plays out that that's just a way to show that okay, now we're in control of this plane. And yeah. Now this sequence happens where you can just tilt the plane around. And the other thing that I wanted to do in this one is like I didn't wanted the plane to just tilt over completely, and I didn't wanted the plane to just tilt over completely and stay like that. It sort of like regains its stability. So like after a delay of 10 seconds or something, the plane goes back to its normal mode. So when I do this, it after 10 seconds or so, we're back in our normal state. So how is this taking place? So what we're doing over here is like I started with this is also again the you know, done using the help of skeletal animation instead of relying on level sequencers. Because when I initially did try to do it with level sequencers, because and this is like sort of like a quick animation I made. Haha, where the plane basically tilts. But then I realized that what if the player tilts, halfway through, and the blending wasn't as good. So, in order to in order to solve that issue, what I did was I imported this animation. I created a reversed version of this animation as well. So like for left and right. So I imported this animation and just took the last frame of this entire thing, of this entire animation, and I plugged it into an animation blueprint. So based on player character's input, the blueprint sort of controls this value of float, and based on this value of float, we tilt the plane. So even if we're halfway through the tilt and the player decides to tilt it the other way, it would seamlessly just like lerp its values towards the other side, which helped me to easily code it instead of doing some crazy technique, which I don't know if there is any. So yeah, so this is the magic behind the tilting. And as you might have noticed, that only one part of the plane is being tilted, like, and not the other one, because this not the other one. So yeah, so yeah, this is the basic. This is basically the skeleton of this level, and once you reach the end, you're sort of faced with this green light door. But with all your tilting and stuff, with all the player characters tilting and stuff, it damaged the airlock, and we're slingshotted outside the plane, and we're now into the free fall, which is the third sub level of this game, of this project. And as you see, we start with a small cutscene where we just saw the plane dive down and our target escaping. So this level initially was so difficult to work on. I mean, on paper this level sounded pretty simple. I thought it would just be gravity doing its work, the gravity that's been coded inside the engine doing the work, and we will be able to easily take control of our character and just catch up to our target. But that's not the case at all, because I learned painfully that it's not like that. You cannot just increase and decrease the velocity the player character falls through. You have to change the gravity scale and adjust its terminal velocity, because if the player character is falling too fast, and then if we want to fall slower, the velocity is already achieved, and it's not possible for the velocity to just decrease again. So I had to create a system where we're able to control the gravity of our player character as we're falling, and do the same for our target as well, which which basically is also like having a secondary control for gravity as well. So in a couple of playtest session, what I noticed was that the player character would just fall straight down, and and a lot of the times they would just miss our target character, and that would be, and then it would make make the level impossible to beat. So what I worked on then next was I dynamically control the gravity scale of the character. So like when the player character is below our target character, the gravity scale increases up to 4 times. So now there's 4 times more gravitational acceleration going on our enemy character than and and then once the original state is achieved again, where the enemy character is supposed to be below the player character, the enemy character starts falling down like 0.6 scale. So this sort of decreases their descent rate, and also, and with this it also helps the player character to catch up to them. So yeah, this is my breakdown of the level that I made. You can check out the gameplay in the portfolio up there somewhere, and I'll be also linking the portfolio in the description of this video as well. So thank you so much for checking out this level breakdown, and see you next time.